Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I pray that you guys are having an amazing day. As always, today is indeed the day that the Lord has made, so let us rejoice and be glad in it. I want to speak to y'all real quick on this Thankful Thursday. This I don't want to say Tip Thursday because usually that's my Tuesdays, but Thankful Thursday, Thorough Thursday. I don't know. But basically, I just want to share something with you guys. I had to have surgery this morning, and due to some unfortunate circumstances, I had ran into some complications, some extreme complications. And it's one of them things of checks and balances and crossing your T's and dotting your I's. Some things that could have been life-threatening, and it's crazy because upon coming here last minute, when things started to monkey wrenches started happening one by one, this started happening, then that, and you feel like when you get ready to, those thoughts or those situations start happening, you feel like, oh well, maybe I shouldn't have this done. So when my friend came to take me to my procedure, my surgery, my operation, I told him something didn't feel right. Now I was anxiously waiting, patiently waiting, as this procedure was long overdue. I have been trying to get in here for 4 years, and they kept dropping the ball on my paperwork. This is something I needed to get done, but due to them being short-staffed, my reviews not being my paperwork not being reviewed, my paperwork being lost, scheduling, a host of things, I wasn't able to get in. And finally, when they found out what happened, they was like, yeah, Miss Cole, Lawrence, we're going to go ahead and do what we need to do. We're going to take very good care of you. And meanwhile, certain things were deteriorating with my health. Things were starting to take a shift. There was just a lot of things. And, I have a lot going on, a big family, things like that. I have to make certain adjustments in order to make this happen. So when my friend dropped me off and I explained to him what was going on, we prayed about it, and I said last minute, I was like, maybe we shouldn't, I shouldn't get this done. What do you think? And I shared with him. He was like, no, it's the reason everything worked itself out. You need to go and get it done, blah, blah, blah. Basically, he talked me into doing it. It's not that I was scared. It's just that there were so many things that were starting to go wrong last minute. And mind you, I'm hours, minutes, countdown to me going back here having this done. And I needed to have this operation done. And that they even bumped me up now since they found out all the delays and the ball being dropped on my case. So, we prayed, and then he encouraged me to stay and follow through with it. And mind you, when we went back there and I went to go have the procedure done, the operation, one thing happened after another. First it was this, then it was that, then it was a lot of T's weren't crossed and a lot of I's weren't dotted, and it was that dress and checks and balances. It was yeah. And I want to tell y'all that I was seconds away from going into the operation room, the OR, and something came up that was big. And mind you, I was on my medication already, like I was sedated, like all these things, and they found something, and it was a hot mess, y'all. And they were dropping the ball on my case again. People weren't being thorough with my paperwork. They weren't being thorough with my medication list, my allergies and reactions. And luckily, things were caught in a timely manner. But also, it came to the conclusion that perhaps I was misdiagnosed with some things. And some things that I had was overlooked or underlooked, whatever. This can cost somebody's life. This can cause somebody's license, somebody's job. And I want to feel like I spoke up for myself today. And like I said, I don't want to sound racist when I say this, so please don't take it like that. Well, what I'm getting ready to say, I had to, if nobody else stands up for you, when you don't have family and friends, your teachers don't back you, your employer doesn't back you, friends, everybody, you have to stand up for yourself and be an advocate For a long time, especially when I was younger and people told me certain things, I accepted what people say. I might have wondered the who, what, how, when, why, and I wanted to ask those questions, but I just accepted things for what they were. And I asked those questions in my head and my brain and even gave it to God, but I really wanted to know, why did you say the things that you said? Why did you do the things that you did? Why didn't you do this? And I settled for things, and oftentimes, majority of my life, I've settled with a lot of things: relationships, employment opportunities, jobs, things that happened in my friendships, things that people did to me or didn't do to me or for me. I settled, and I've always received the short end of the stick. I've always felt like I was the giver and not the receiver. And I was reluctant about speaking my mind because I just wanted to avoid confrontation. And I thank God for the time of going into the military, because it helped me to have a voice. And those of you know me, I'm only 2 foot nothing. But I always wanted to avoid confrontation. A lot of times I would spare people's feelings, but I thank God for going into the military, because they gave me a voice and it taught me to speak up for myself. And I learned that when nobody else speaks up for you and no one else has your back, you have to have your back. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to teach my children now, that no matter, sometimes I know my kids have loving, kind hearts. They can be obnoxious sometimes, they're being typical children, typical young adults, but overall, their aim is not to hurt somebody. And unfortunately, they'll hurt their siblings before they hurt the next person out in the street. And I tell them, love starts at home. I want them to love on their siblings and family first. I teach them that. And then I tell them that you have to be an advocate for yourself. I'm my children's biggest fan. I'm their number one advocate. But I'm trying so hard to teach them to be an advocate for themselves and not don't just settle for what somebody says. Go get second opinions. Ask those questions why. Don't just settle. And they really dropped the ball on me today, y'all. And like I said, life was involved. Jobs could have been involved. Career could have been involved. License could have been on the line. And had I not opened my mouth, and when I was talking about the thing of racism, I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to pull that card. But I wanted to say that you can be stern and advocate for yourself without having an attitude, without doing the finger snapping or utilizing swear words, cursing words. And oftentimes, unfortunately, from what I've seen, it's been people of color. It's been our people. And they think that, and I've experienced this working in my office, working in customer service. People come in there and think that they have to have an attitude, do the snapping of the finger, and just, where's your supervisor? Or they come into places trying to tell you how you do your job. There's ways that you can advocate for yourself and get your point across without having to be irate, obnoxious, ghetto, and hood. You just have to stand firm. First of all, act educated. Know your stuff. For one, ask those questions. Ask the who, what, how, when, where, all those questions. And then make sure that you receive clarity and understanding. And if you don't, like I said, ask those questions till you do. And I thank God for discernment on today. Ask those important questions. And if you don't get an understanding, and if you feel like you didn't get it on that level, then you ask to speak to the next person. Write a letter if you have to the next chain of command. But because I've also found that a lot of people think that just because you get irate and you start name calling and you start doing all this, you tend to be belittled, or they think that opens the door for them and then their case is solved. But no, that's really not the case, and that's not the answer. I do believe in seeking justice. It's just a matter of how you go about things. But when you do that, just make sure you stand on business when you do stuff. Make sure we go in there talking to people like we have some sense. Make sure we have supporting documents in that. Like I said, we're asking those questions. Make sure that we have communicated, utilize all your resources, reached out to the proper channels, through the proper channels of communication. And like if you're talk to patient relations or talk to customer service, human resources, but just go through the chain of command. And it's not just in the military form. It's at every job, every business, every company has a chain of command, and so let's just be mindful how we talk to people. But I also want to just encourage you to be an advocate. We are our biggest advocates, and we have a voice, and God gave us a voice for us to utilize it. But we have to speak of intelligence, because automatically people just belittle us, especially us of color, and they think that we're not intelligent, we don't know how to speak, we're uneducated, and unfortunately sometimes people just some people get these jobs just because of who you know. Sometimes they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And in other cases, it's not just about who you know, it is what you know. So sometimes you have somebody who work in the field who may not have that much experience. Even I've made that mistake, and I've told somebody, no, we can't do this based on the policy that was taught to me. And then especially in retail, like they tell you one thing and then you go and say, no, this is the policy, we can't do that. And then when the customer starts getting irate and all this furious and starts cursing and doing all this, and then you go through the higher proper channels like your supervisor, just for the supervisor to come behind you and say, I know they said this, but we can go ahead and override it for you, this, that, and the other. And then you standing there looking stupid, and then that customer looking at you like, I told you, somebody, they don't know their job, this, that, and the other. And it's important for those in that field to make sure that we're backing our team too. So it goes both ways. On the other side, in the business aspect, we have to make sure that we are doing things across the board, make sure everyone is abreast of what's going on, and we have to back each other as a team when dealing with the public, customer service, patients, everybody, even from the higher ups to reprimanding our employees that are beneath us, But on the outside, as patients and as customers, consumers, we also have to know and understand that you do have a voice. But just be mindful of how we talk to people, but just be stern and speak of intelligence, and make sure you have all your facts and all your ducks in order when we are presenting our case and our claims to these people, so that our voice is indeed heard. I just really want to stress that on today, because it was a lot that was at stake today. Like I said, again, a life was on the line, career was on the line, license on the line. My case is still being investigated right now. And I had a bad experience this morning, and I don't know what we're going to do about this moving forward. As you know, I was this operation scheduled for today, but I had to just leave. I had to leave. I was very hurt and upset. I don't feel like I was treated appropriately today, and so I am awaiting a response to see what we're going to do and how this case is going to be evaluated moving forward. So on today, I just ask for your continued prayers. Again, I thank God for clarity, understanding, and discernment on today. And I just ask that I pray that you guys be blessed. I'll be praying for y'all, and just ask that y'all continue to keep me and my situation in prayers, and praying for justice. Not justice in a sense like, oh, like somebody better get fired, this, that, and that, because that's definitely not my goal today. My goal today is just to make sure that my medical needs and concerns and complaints are thoroughly addressed and taken care of and handled. And I just want to make sure that the proper action is done on the other party's end, and that they're clear on how this situation needs to proceed moving forward, and that everybody's on board. And despite whatever transpires, I just pray that God has his hands on the surgeons, the nurses, everyone in the operating room working on me. And not only me, the other patients, because after this happened today, if I tell y'all in great detail what happened to me today, y'all would be saying lawsuit or this, that, and other, malpractice. Y'all would be like, what? Like, and in this case, I can honestly say I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. Things were overlooked. The way I talked to wasn't really appropriate today. Yeah. Medications were given to me. My care was neglected at one particular point. They dropped the ball on my case, and I'm very upset. And I feel like this is not fair, that this has to happen. And so I'm being an advocate for myself on today. And I just want to remind you and encourage you guys to be an advocate for yourself. And for those of you who have children, remember, our children are our biggest fans. I mean, we are our children's biggest fans. We are our children's biggest advocates, especially for our minors, those who can't really speak up for ourselves, you know, and even those of you who work in healthcare or in the child care facility, when something's going wrong or a child comes in hurt or injured or sick and they can't speak for themselves and we don't know what's going on in the homes and we have to speak for a child, we are their voice. And it's very important for us to hear their concerns and understand their needs and how we can help them. And I just feel like as healthcare professionals or anybody that's up high that's serving the public or patients, we have to be advocates for them. You know, we're there to serve the public, and if it wasn't for the public, we wouldn't be employed to have a job. And we have to remember that as well. It goes both ways. So we both have to be there for each other. So I hope that this video blesses you as much as it did me making it. I hope that someone can receive this video on today and that it helps someone who may be going through or who has experienced the same thing. Just like I said, be mindful of how we talk to people, but let's talk to them like we have some intelligence and class about ourselves. It's not about being uppity. It's not about pointing fingers, snapping our fingers, swearing, cussing, and fussing at people, but speak up for yourself. Speak up for yourself. You do have a voice. God blessed us with a voice to utilize it. Just being mindful of the things that we say. I love you guys, but God loves you more. And I welcome your feedback. So hit me up if y'all have any questions, concerns, or any advice for me on moving forward. And I'll keep you posted and let y'all know what happened moving forward. And I just ask for your continued prayers for my procedures and everything. I love you guys. Take care, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.